My name's Adam Lozier. I'm the operations chief for the cities of Fullerton and Brea down in Orange County. And the next person I'm going to introduce to you has been around for 30 years within the fire and EMS services. Their company has been probably one of the forefront leaders in pushing out modeling. I remember when we were putting in a new station back in even just 2005, the way we were given land by a developer, we kind of put our thumb out the air, we go, yep, that's a good place to put that fire station. Times have changed, money is tight, transparency is what we're becoming or evolving to. We want to make good, thoughtful decisions that are backed by data. Deccan International is one of those products that can help each of our agencies plot out what your next move could be. Whether it's a closed station that you are looking to justify reopening, if it is the moving or redeployment of resources to better fit the current needs or even the future needs of your department, this product and what Raj from Deccan has co-founded and built upon, that's what they provide. So without further ado, Raj from Deccan International.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Every time a unit goes on a call and the unit status updates, like unit going on road, going on scene at the hospital, returning from the hospital, each one of those data points is very valuable information for us. It's a gold mine of information that we can tap into to better help you make better decisions and do more with the limited resources that you have. Just a little bit about us. We're basically focused exclusively on fire and EMS and decision support tools. Our unique thing that we bring to bear is we have strong analytical experience, and we have a lot of passion for fire EMS, and we put that together, and as we've been expanding, we've got more and more folks in our company with the same kind of passion as well as analytical expertise, and that's helping us grow in the process. We have a lot of clients across US and Canada. You can see some of our major metropolitan fire departments, metropolitan counties, and relatively not so metropolitan counties. And within CAL FIRE, within the California fire agencies, as we started listing all the different departments we support one form or the other, we were amazed by ourselves, but that there were so many different departments that we touched in some fashion, either part of the move-up application or part of the ADAM planning application. We have about 35 people in our company. There's a user group conference where we have customers come in once a year and share each other's experience. And our basic focus is that we're not just a software provider, we are partners in crime to help you make more productive decisions. So we have project managers and analysts who work with you to say, what's your project, how can we help you with it? And so we're not done until we're able to actually make productive use of the application and make decisions and sell it to whoever you need to sell it to. Our primary software offerings are ADAM, which is a department analysis module, and MoveUp is for move-up planning, so both strategic and tactical. So what have we been doing with our CAD data? Typically, when you think about CAD data, you think about reports and NFIRS reports and all the different reports that you have. But also, you can do a lot more with your CAD data. You can use it to validate intuition. One of our customers in the East Coast, as you can see here in the map, and I'll blow it up a little bit more, where green's good, red's bad, and this is actual data, not modeling data. This is actual data of a transport unit, and it don't need to be, we were out here in San Diego, not familiar with this department at all, and we could say that they have a problem in the top corner, as you can see there. And as we shared with them, they said, yeah, we're very familiar with it, but it never really got articulated, never brought up to the bear. But then when we developed our model, which is a big part of the process where we've calibrated so it matches closely with the historical time so that it reflects, so that you can actually trust the application. So this is the actual data, and this is our model, and it's still showing the same problem area here. So now we have confidence that maybe you can now start playing with it. What if you move a unit? What if you can add a unit? You can see the impact of it. Here you can see we added a new unit, and you can see the impact of it. And you can see that it's credible because it's all based on a very rigorous mathematical model. Sometimes we can even use CAD data to challenge intuition. I was working in a department where there are a lot of dilapidated stations, and the chief said, what if we have one super station and have very comfortable, the crews can all be there. And when we took the CAD data and modeled it, we realized it was really not a good idea. And it turns out that in fire service, I'm preaching to the choir, as you all know, it's location, location, location. If you have a superstation, it's not going to go so far convenient to all those different locations, and you're missing out on that location, the process there. So sometimes we use it to actually challenge intuition. So here's an example. A big part of our modeling is calibration. So we make sure we're reflecting not posted speed limits, but actual travel time distance that your crew actually encounters by time of day, day of week in the process there. And the left is the actual historical data, and right is the model data. Same thing here. As you can see here, sometimes it's perfect and sometimes it's not, but this is a big part of our process to make sure that now when you make projections, you can actually believe in the projections, and maybe it's not as good as you hope, but it's as credible as we can get in the process there. Here's another process, a modeling of the process here. Then we actually run, clients do projects. Here in Santa Monica, they ran different situations. What if they had a pilot unit in different locations here? Here you can't see so well, but what if a new unit was added? Here if a new engine was added. But here when a new unit was added, you can see the engine performs much better, but the first unit performance is still the same because there was already another unit in the process here. So then one of the important fun tools that we have to support you all is the Atom Optimizer. Here you can actually say a given number of units, how many, what's the best location for those units here. I want to optimize on my ladder trucks or my medic units. It runs different scenarios, and you can actually get a good recommendation. You can even say, what if I have, if all street corners are available, what's the best location? We run through all the different scenarios, use the model to give you the optimal location. In real time, we have an application called MoveUp module that's listening to a CAD data in real time and showing you that here's the coverage hole that you have. It's taking into account the call volume, the different policies that you have, what depth, what we call as depths and estimated time backs. So each time a unit goes on a call, we estimate, okay, what from the past data, how quickly would it come back in service? And for that time, what's the likelihood of a call happening? And if it's only for high enough, then we would recommend a move up. So these are some stuff that we've been doing with the CAD data. And what is the future for us? It's very exciting. We're working on multiple different projects. Some of the other things I want to share with you. One is fatigue management. Here where we have, and one of the things we learned recently is that fatigue is a big issue. Crews do need to get a break. For example, if a crew works for 19-hour stretch, it's like having 0.05% blood alcohol, 24-hour stretch, 1% alcohol level, equivalent of that. So how can we use our MoveUp module? For example, if a crew is busy, a crew needs a break, the coverage is good, then mom would say, okay, go ahead and take your break at this time. If the coverage is bad and the crew needs a break, then mom would recommend move a smaller unit in that area so that that unit can get a break. See, these are some of the projects that we're working on. Here's an example of the crew. On this bar there is the different crew fatigue factors, and the left is the coverage scores. Some of the things we've seen is smarter call triaging, where taking listening to the call and applying artificial intelligence to have a much better estimate of what would be the call type, so sending the more appropriate routes as possible. We also have now developed a simulation tool where you can run all kinds of different policies. For example, one of our customers in the East Coast is running what's called, what if we do fallbacks? If the number of units in area is below, what if we not stop sending it only on emergency calls? What's the consequence of response time and workloads? Targeted prevention programs. We've done some analysis on the data using lifestyle data, and we discovered that, in fact, kitchen fires in that particular client was actually from the group called Wired and Connected. Not older people, but young people wired and connected. And the narrative is they just left from home, they now have their cooking for the first time, cooking something, focus on their wife, on their device, forgetting about it and have a kitchen fire. Better forecasting is what we're working on to get much better likelihood of when will a call happen using seasons, time of day, day of week. These are some of the more interesting projects that we've been working on. It's an exciting time for us to using artificial intelligence to mine the CAD data and give you more useful information for you to be productive with your applications. So I want to run through this, but I just want to give an idea of the stuff that we work on. Thank you. Yeah.
So any questions for Raj before he clears up?
Oh, got one there.
Yes. Oh, that's a good question. Most of the times we don't have that valuable data. So what we do is we actually take each one of your runs, and that's like historical data for us. So we have the AVL of the location of the unit as it goes along the runs. We know at what time of day it left. We know what location we get, and we do like, okay, if it was according to the posted speed limit, what would be the time, but what was the real time? And that's how we dumb down or dumb up or raise up the local network. Because we want to reflect not just what general population is, but what do public safety apparatus, fire departments involved. So we use the historical runs to help calibrate the model. Great question.
Yes, sir.
So, and it's more of a, because I'm somewhat familiar with it, but it's more about when you, earlier we talked about breaking down the fire company, the fire department, for most folks is the company officer. But for the fire department, for the people that live in the community, it's the local firehouse. So I'll give you an example of the question I have is because you, one of your things up there talked about average response times, and I don't think many people use average.
No.
Right. So if I have a community, and I'll use one that I'm somewhat familiar with, but we'll say in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm not speaking out of school, but they have a firehouse in downtown Los Angeles that reportedly goes on a little under 28,000 calls a year in a real small area. That's going to really improve if their ability to get to a lot of those calls is low, then that's going to speak for a more distant firehouse where they take a longer time to get there because the community is not based on township coordinates. Is there any kind of thought about how you address that discrepancy? Do you break down the response times by firehouse, or do you break it down by, because citywide in a large city you can see the difference that I'm speaking to. And those numbers mean a lot different, you know, your ability to back up those firehouses that are just on, you know, where the houses are up in the hills and the secondary companies are further out. How do you speak to that in the, when you drill down into your final analysis?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually don't look, a couple of things is that our application does percentile and average performance, and they're both options, and depending on what the customer wants to choose, and sometimes they choose one or the other. In terms of your question about fire stations, we actually don't even look at it by fire station. We break the service area into small zones called response zones, and when an incident comes, we don't even ask, like, why did you come? How come you're here? You're not first due, you're second due. We just do like an auditor. Okay, how quickly did we get a first paramedic, first engine on scene, first water, first ladder, and so on, and we calculate the process here. So that in our modeling, one thing we account for is sometimes in this zone, perhaps the first due person can come there, but sometimes the first due is not available, therefore the second due has to come, the third due has to come, and we account for all of those different situations. And the further it's there, it's going to have a longer travel time to come in. So when you're calculating the time to a particular zone, it's the time for the first engine on the scene, not necessarily the first due engine on the scene, first engine on the scene, taking into account the busyness and the availability of all the other units, so that if the call volume is very high, even though the engine is right there, the first engine response time may not be as good as you may think because the engine may be busy and the second and third due has to come. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question well, but we're taking into account the fact that further units have to come in, and we're not looking at performance by station area, we're just looking at by zone, where that's the one that wants the calls.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Raj.
Thank you very much.